Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to our Monday show live with your host, Rosemary Mumpambwa. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's a beautiful day, Monday, and we are here live. Welcome to the Dating Smart and the Relationship Advice Show with your host, Rosemary Mumpambwa. We are here every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we talk about how to date smart, and I will give you relationship advice so that you can start looking for love on a good note. How is that? How is that? As you tune in, let me know where you're tuning in from so that I can give you a big hi. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Shalene. Oh, it's lovely to see you again. Thank you, guys. I have two people joining in from Australia. Oh, that's nice. These are my pros, but they have been away for a long time. But welcome, guys. I'm so excited to see you. So, as you are coming in, drop in the comments chat where you are coming in from so that I can give you a huge shout out. I am tuning in from my home area here in Okanagan Falls. It's a beautiful day. It's a little, moody but cloudy, but it's nice. Today it's a little bit cooler than normal. It's been about 36, 37 degrees hot. But let's move on. We are really excited as we continue reading my book, Exhume or Heal, a widow's memoir, Getting Her Groove Back. But we have chapters that we are reading about, and so that I can take you through my journey, where and why I wrote this book, which has become a manual in a lot of people's lives. So why are we reading the chapter that we are reading a chapter today? Anyway, for those that don't know me, my name is Rosemary Mpambwa. I help women find love again after losing their spouse through divorce, heartbreaks, or even when you have been widowed. How do you get back into the dating scene? This is where I come in, and I will give you the reins to be the CEO of your dating life so that you can find the right man who works for you. Instead of being chosen, I will give you the tips and the confidence to choose the man that really works for you, the one that's going to treat you like a queen you deserve. I have been fortunate enough to have my work uh, public publicized in these major publications like CBC, ABC, NBC, USA Today, and Fox News. I'm also an author of several books. One of them being this one. This was my first book that I wrote, and I have the workbook to this one, which is Exhume or Heal, a widow's memoir, Getting a Groove Back. So I have the workbook. Once you finish reading this book, every chapter, you have a workbook to go through in this workbook here. And then I also published the third book, Triumph and Snapback. This will help you to heal from your heartbreak through divorce, widowhood, or even when somebody doesn't treat you right the way you're supposed to be treating you. It will take you through all those healing therapies and the healing steps that you need to get back into your life and take your life back. So, why are we reading this chapter that we are reading today? We are reading this chapter. It's called Finding Your Identity After After Loss, Grief, The grief being you could have been divorced, right? Or you could have been widowed, you could have been heartbroken. So that's the grief that I'm talking about. How do you find your footing when all that happens? Finding your identity after loss, divorce, grief. From my book, Exhume or Heal, a widow's memoir, getting a groove back, which is on chapter 120, and it's chapter 11. Now let's dive in straight into the book. What happens when you have lost your status? You have been married before, or you were in a relationship, and then overnight you are either widowed, or your husband, which will be your ex, saves you with divorce papers that you need to sign. And you have signed the papers and the divorce has gone through. What do you do after that? A lot of people lose their identity because you were so used to be a coupled, uh, you were so used to be living like a couple. You had your spouse, but all of a sudden you are now alone. You no longer belong into the couple zones, because the couples are the people that are still in the relationships. But for you, you are no longer in a relationship. So you find that, it's going to be really hard for you to be able to connect with those people that are still in the relationships. When you lose your spouse or your relationship, your identity is altered greatly to suit the changes in your life at that time. You are perceived differently by the same people that knew you before. And this is because you no longer belong to their groups. Your thought process, your behaviors, and even your living patterns, they change. It's funny that this only affects women. For men, they don't change even their last names. They still remain with their last names. But for women, sometimes you have to ditch that ex-husband's name when you get remarried, or when you decide to go back to your maiden name, especially if it was a very nasty, nasty divorce. For me, when my first husband passed away, I haven't changed my last name. I'm still using his last name because all the kids have that name. So it was just easier for me to continue using that name. And all my documents are under Mpambwa, and changing everything is just a hassle. But I have decided to keep my my late husband's married name. For women, it's emotionally draining, as it will cost a lot of money, a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of time. Maybe that's why some women nowadays, they don't change their last name. They will rather continue with their maiden name, so that if anything happens, if anything happens, they don't have to go through all these hassles about changing their last name. So you will change. Now you are no longer a Mrs. So you can now change into a Miss or a Ms. A Ms meaning you were married before, and now you've gone through divorce, or you were never married, but you have reached at an age where being called Miss might be a little bit uncomfortable because of your age, right? So what kind of identities change? Right. What kind of identities change? Number one, the rational identity. This identity changes when a situation changes. If you took care of your husband when he was ill, right? You got married. You were his girlfriend. You got married. You were the mother of his children. And then now he is sick. You are his caregiver. He passes away. You are now his widow. And imagine all these stages, they affect your emotional health. And at the same time, you were still an in-law in with his family, right? That doesn't change. But with other families, the trajectory of your life will change completely when the divorce goes through, or when you are widowed. So this is why a lot of people, they've always looked at a divorce or widowhood as a major change in their life, because everything is going to change. Your friends are going to change. You are also going to lose that Mrs. status in some communities. After that, you might have to move houses, especially when your husband passes away and he hasn't left a lot of money for you to start looking after the children alone, and you are not earning enough to afford that mortgage or the rent that you were paying. It means that you have to move away from where you are. That's the rational identity. Spiritual identity. If, for example, you were married and your husband used to go to a Catholic church and your family used to go to Salvation Army, when your husband passes away, you might have to make a decision. Do you still want to continue going to church where you and your husband used to go through? Or if you are divorced, do you still want to go to the same church that your ex-husband goes to? Or you want to change and go into a different denomination? That's the spiritual identity. Are you still going to follow the same praying behaviors or everything that you used to do with your ex-husband? Financial identity. Financial identity also affects you, because if your husband passes away and he was the breadwinner, it means that your financial status changes. It's going to drop drastically. I suffered that because when my first husband passed away, we were both lecturers at a college, but he had an engineering shop, a business on the side. And so we came from three incomes to one income. So that was a major, major blow to our financial status, to my financial status and the children. So it meant that my financial identity had to change. I had to make a lot of changes. The other one also that is going to change is your outlook identity. Your outlook is affected big time. This is the way you look at yourself and the way people look at you. If your husband passed away, you are now a widow. Everybody will look at you as, oh, look at that widow. When you are divorced, the same thing. Your status changes. You are no longer a married woman. You are now a divorced woman, a divorcee. And if you were in a relationship, they will say, oh, yeah, so that used to be his girlfriend, but now they are no longer together. All those statements, they affect your mental stability. They also affect your identity, because now you are looking at yourself uh, from a different perspective. Even the community is not going to look at you the same way they used to look at you when you were still uh, in your relationship. As human beings, we don't take change very well. Sometimes we are very resistant to change, trying to protect our old self from what the people are saying behind your back. It's tough, especially when you've gone through it. It's really tough, because when you are used to be going to functions with your husband or going to church with your husband, all of a sudden you have to be sitting alone on the same place that both of you used to sit, and your husband is no longer there, especially if he has passed away, or even when you are divorced, and then you see him sitting across the hallway and with his new girlfriend. It's tough. Let's be honest, this is tough, but there is always a way that you can deal with this. This is what I will always I have been talking about in my book, Exhume or Heal, a widow's memoir, Getting a Groove Back. I will take you through everything that you need to do, how to change your identity, how to look for your identity. What is your personality now? How was it affected? What are your dreams? What do you want to achieve in your life? What are your core values? What are your likes and your dislikes? Do you know your body? Your eating patterns, do you have to change that? How do you reinvent yourself? How do you get that identity that belongs to you now, so that you can start living a new life as a new person? So I talk about this on page 125 in my book. You have to start finding who you are, because continuing to feel sorry for yourself and asking yourself why you got divorced, why your husband passed away, it's not going to change anything. Now, let me just talk a little bit about my course that I've been working on, Find Him and Keep Him, Dating After a Long Dry Spell. This is a new dating program that I'm going to be launching in a couple of weeks. I'm just finishing up all the videos and all the PDFs. So I'm going to be looking just for 10 people that I want them to try this program as a beta, so that we can see if it works for you. So I will be launching this program in a few weeks here. And so watch out for this program in a couple of weeks. And if you want to join at a very, very reduced price, like almost 30%, uh, uh, like 70% off, you only pay 30%. But for the beta, I will just want 10 people for that price. So thank you so much for joining me today. Did you get value out of today's live? If you did, please put in hashtag value. Put in hashtag value. And if you have any questions about how to find your identity after your status has been altered, send me questions and I'll be able to help you with that. Otherwise, you can find my book on Amazon, Exhume or Heal, a widow's memoir, Getting Your Groove Back. It's now live on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. And also, if you go to my website, it's also available, roseslifecoaching.com. Thank you so much for joining me. You have a wonderful day. Bye bye for now. I will see you again next week.